been an actor for a really long time. I've had lots of different wonderful ups and downs. I've never been on a show that is of this size, that really it has such ambition as a show, have it then also be such a success. And both sort of, you know, now with the internet and with how these shows are traveling, not just here, but literally the kind of the tweets that we get from all over the world are incredible. So how this, you know, not all American shows, as they say, travel. This one travel, it's got legs. So that's also quite remarkable, and it's a little overwhelming sometimes because it sort of takes my breath away, the scope of that. But it's a really interesting experience. I mean, I sort of realize now, I was saying to someone in the cast, you know, one day when you read my obituary, it will say Raphael Sbarge, the actor who formerly played Jiminy Cricket. You know, these roles have will leave their imprimatur on us, I believe, long after we're gone. It's a big feeling.
I know that there's a big difference in my life. When I used to tell people I worked on Buffy, the most common reaction was, "Oh, Buffy the Vampire, I don't watch animated shows." And then I went to Battlestar Galactica, where a common reaction was, "Is that still on from the 80s?" And you know, we think of these shows as big hits, but that's because it's a big hit in our community. Now this is a network hit. I don't have to say a show called. I can say I work on Once Upon a Time. I don't have to say a show called Once Upon a Time. That's really nice. I've had a long career, and it's really nice to be on a network hit where people know what you're talking about, and where something this geeky, that's this much of what we all are, is now being seen by mainstream people as worthy of their eyes.
I mean, because of you, Once Upon a Time was the highest rated new show of the year last year.
I get people asking all the time of like, "Oh, are you coming back? What can I do to support the show?" It's like, we're doing good. Like, people think because it's good that it must be in trouble. It's not. It's doing awesome.
Over here.
Hi. So a lot of the backgrounds in the fantasy world are computer generated. So you film a lot in front of green screens. What are some of the challenges working in a room with very little surroundings?
Working in green screen?
Yeah.
I mean,
we have this thing called the Zeus system that we work. It's Jim Cameron's system. So, like, I've done a lot of green screen work over the years and a lot of the pictures, and it used to be, you know, you'd have to really activate your mind to kind of figure out where you're at. But we have this amazing kind of set. It's got all gridded all over, so that what you see, like when we're looking at it, is a green screen stage with some tape to show where the hallways are and a couple key pieces of furniture. But they're watching it on the monitor fully rendered. It gets fed through the computer. The computer generates the image of whatever the scene is, including shadows on the floor, exactly what there'd be from imaginary chandeliers. So we're able to actually go and say, "Oh yeah, that's what we're looking out the window." So technology is advancing and really helping us when we get into those green screen situations. And listen, man, it's almost like being back in college or drama school on the day. Because you're still going to pretend like you're in a dark and a low-ceilinged hallway when really you're in a giant stage. So it's a combination of the technical abilities of the computer and, of course, you know, our imaginations.
I was talking to one of the visual effect guys as well, and he was saying one of the exciting things about kind of the technology as it has sort of moved along, that in terms of the ability and the speed that they have now able to do what they're doing, what Lee has just explained, and also then after we're shooting, it allows us to sort of give this show this kind of level. The quality of the image is so high. It's what you would more imagine to sort of see in a feature, which of course takes almost a year to produce.
Well, like, I mean, you know, for example, when I did Pirates, right, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first movie when we were the baddies that were, you know, in the moonlight, thanks guys, they used to have to lock all done with a locked off camera, no movement from the camera, right? Then they would layer the film on it. So you would do one as a reference where you'd actually play the scene. Then say the cursed guy would step out, the guy I'm fighting with would do a mime. Then he would step out and they would shoot a clean plate of it. And then they go back up to ILM and layer to get your image, right? By the second movie, a couple years later, they were able to do the Davy Jones crew in full light with moving camera because the computers had elevated. And now, this is translated all the way through after Avatar into the TV world. And so it's absolutely right. You're getting a higher quality product because the people behind these technicians, the people that really run the business, are, you know, coming up with some absolutely fantastic and game-changing ideas and bringing it into our industry.
Yeah, Lee is right. There's been a lot of progress, and you can get a better idea of what you're acting with now. But it's sort of oddly hard for me because they still haven't figured out how to put Jiminy Cricket in without putting him on a fishing rod and sort of hanging him in front of my face. And now you have a double issue because you have, you know, if you really sort of take a second to think about what you're doing, I mean, it just brings a smile to your face, number one. And secondly, you have to train your ear to not follow the sound, because Raphael might be off screen doing the sound, you know, or he may not be there, you know, so, but it's always this sort of, you know, the Jiminy Cricket on the fishing boat. That's so funny.
The blue fairy.
And the blue fairy.
Oh, the blue fairy.
The scene where I had to basically sort of make a wish and decide to become a cricket. She is cute, but I didn't mean to say that. Is that you know, you're talking to literally a stick. You're literally talking to a stick. So some things endure that don't sort of a technology is not touched.
Yeah. We haven't fixed how to figure out how to do a blue fairy. She's smoking hot. But, yeah.
Next question.
All right, we've only got about 5 minutes left here, so hopefully we can keep the answers kind of short and we can get more people through.
Okay.
All right. I know y'all don't want the show to end because, of course, that's your revenue at the point. But you're dealing with a show with fairy tales, so you're always looking for that happy ending as the audience. Is that something that they're keeping in mind as they're going through making the episodes and shows, or is this something that they're just going to push on as long as they can and then maybe never get to happen?
That's such a Jane question.
There's a big difference between what the audience wants and what the audience thinks they want. We all watch TV going like, oh, I hope they'll be happy this time, when in fact in your heart you kind of know like, but I want to watch the show for a bunch of years and I don't want them to have a happy ending. And I think a really good solution to that is something that Buffy did over and over. You give Buffy what she wanted, but it comes with a cost that starts a whole new thing over. You all really wanted that curse broken. Hey, the curse is broken. Oh my God, what's that cloud? What's doing?
All magic comes with a price.
Yeah, so you will see happy endings on our show. It's not all crying. There's characters. Belle found Rumple again, tremendously happy. But I think you guys know they're probably not just like open up the bread and breakfast and like there's gonna be stuff in the future that's gonna bring more trauma and more travails, and so it's a mixture, and you never want to just, I mean, until it's the end of season 12, you don't want to sort of have everybody happy all at the same time. Like, we know we are yearning for it, but we also want that 12 years, right?
Yeah.
Your question over here?
Yes, we know, of course, obviously, we noticed how you included Alice in Wonderland in the fairy tale world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us know that Peter Pan is going to be incorporated next season. And I was just wondering, for each of you, if you saw a classic kind of fairy tale universe or story universe incorporated, what would your wish be, I guess?
Who's to say that Pride and Prejudice isn't a fairy tale? I'm voting for Jane Austen. I don't know what about you guys.
I'm voting for the Kama Sutra.
I'm still voting for the Blue Fairy.
I'm voting for Obama.
Next question right here.
Yes, my question's for Tony. You were saying that you see a fierceness in Geppetto. Well, there was also a fierceness in Master Braytac on Stargate SG-1, and then there's also that protective instinct in both Braytac and Geppetto. Is there any other similarities that you see between those two characters?
No. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because I guess what I'm saying is Braytak was a type of character. If there was a problem, he'd go out and find a solution for it. It was active, and Geppetto is a much more accepting sort of guy, and he's burdened by his poverty and by so many things of the way his life has been dealt to him until he gets this little boy. But so consequently, I see Geppetto as more, accepting the burden of life and putting it there until he has someone to protect. And once he has someone to protect, the fierceness of Braytak and the fierceness of Geppetto are equal in my mind. There's no difference. So they're no difference. So
over there.
Since a lot of the stories in the fairy tale world haven't entirely been told all the way through, especially in that first season, how did you guys kind of show the characters and where they ended up, even though you haven't heard or know all of your own backstory yet? How do you keep that straight and get that to play across and keep it open enough so we can so you guys can add more to the characters as you go?
I think you've sort of seen how we've done it. We reference, we see a character have a certain adventure. We sort of see how that adventure resonates with their current life. But we very rarely fill in every year. We leave room for future adventures so we can go back and tell other stories. I think I had a concern early on of like, gee, aren't we going to run out of fairy tales? Until you realize, like, who knows what adventures Snow White had during that time when she was a bandit. We left the timeline a little loose there, so we can go back and we can tell, for instance, a Snow Bandit story. But we've done it with lots and lots of stories. There are tales we know nothing of, and they've been left that way on purpose, because these characters hopefully will have a very long future life and a very long backstory life.
Hard to say. We've got one more left. Sorry.
Hi, I'm going to make this real quick. With excluding the main cast of Emma, Snow White, Prince Charming, is there any particular fairy tale character that you would like to see overlap with your own story?
Everyone seems to like the Blue Fairy.
Yeah.
That is probably a porno that we should probably not be doing.
I'm going to sidestep that one. In terms of kind of, I'll be curious, and they've sort of intimated that there's some romance coming to Storybrooke, and I'd be curious kind of where, in Dr. Hopper's case, what his romantic life is, and who then intercepts that. I'd be curious kind of where that takes us, just from my side.
I mean, for me, I trust these guys. It doesn't say writer next to my name, and I think that's real important, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you'll get an actor that's like, why am I drinking tea? Well, dude, it says it in the script. And I think there's a time when we do need to shut the brain off. I told you that before. It's like, we don't think about that. Our job is to, like, what did they come up with? Okay, now it's our turn. They know what we can do now. They know what we can say and how we can do it. So it's that jazz process of the way we work, right? They do their thing, we do ours. Obviously, we all want to carry the ball. We all want to get off the bench and run for a couple hundred yards and score 10 touchdowns. I mean, that's the ego behind every actor, and if he denies it, man, well, he's going to get run over by me for sure. I tell you something, that's what's really most thrilling about this cast and getting to work. The honor it is with these gentlemen and the rest of the people is I respect the hell out of them as performers. These are great actors in this show, except for me, but whatever, These dudes and I'm telling you, it is a thrill when you toe a mark with Rafa and Tony and Bobby, and Josh. Where did he come from, right? Yeah. I mean, that dude is a talented guy, right? So we are very lucky when you get in a scene with Lana. So there's so much to explore just within our own relationship of the characters already there that I wouldn't presume to think up anything cool enough that Jane could. She could obviously out-cool me, my brain. I'd rather have her take on it, and leave it to the pros. And I think that's what really is great about this show, is everyone is trusted to do their job. And as long as everyone does their job to the best of the ability, then you just let the chips fall where they may. And I think that's the thrilling thing with our executive producers, our showrunners. They trust us to do that. And that to me is one of the biggest thrills of the business, is when they aren't there. They say, go kids, we gave you your toys, go do your job. That's when you want to step up and be counted. That's thrilling.
Thank you so much to Tony, Raphael, and I think there's another panel tomorrow. And What's On Time is back September 30th, right? I think that's it.
September 30th.
Yeah, awesome.